Welcome to your video all about tonality. So you should have already watched that video, context over content. And now I'm going to share with you about tonality. And of course, as we know, this accounts for 38% of the way that you communicate. So it can have a real impact if you use it the right way. So there are 3 different levels to tonality. And I'm going to share one by one what they are and how you can use them. So first of all, and make sure that you are taking notes and writing this down. First of all, although I'm putting it as number 2, you'll understand in a minute, we have our mid voice, your mid tone. Now what is that? That is your everyday conversation, the way that I'm speaking to you now, the way that you would communicate with your partner, your children, somebody that you meet in a store. It's just a general, very relaxed, everyday conversational voice. So many people, and when I first became a speaker, this was absolutely me. So many people go on stage or stand up in front of a group of people and they automatically go into presentator? I don't think that's a word, don't write that down. Presenter is the word I'm looking for. They go into presenter mode and they become so professional, and I was so guilty of this. Instantly when I came on, it was suddenly this, how many of you guys have heard that expression before, your phone voice? So you pick up the phone, hello, Harriet here, if you're not sure who's on the other end. It's like your presenter mode. You become very professional, and so many people do that when they first become speakers. They feel as if they have to raise their voice, articulate in so much depth. And actually some of the most engaging speakers use this tone, just a conversational tone, throughout the majority of their talks. Now, why do you think this is powerful? Do you think that we relate through communication? Of course. So when you're having a one-to-one conversation with someone, do you shout at them? No. So for the majority of your presentation, do you want them to be sitting in their chairs feeling like they're being shouted at? And from somebody that did this for a very long time, it can feel very intense. I watch back some of my videos and I'm speaking in such a presenter mode right the way through that it actually gets really intense and you just want to switch off and get away from the noise. So please guys, learn from my mistakes. The majority of your presentations, of your talks, of your speeches should be in mid-tone. So what's the next one? They don't really need to have numbers to them, but apparently I'm applying them anyway. Next one I'm going to share with you is your low tone. So really dropping down into a soft, very relaxed tone. And it doesn't have to be slow, you can still speak quite quickly. But it's a much more gentle, soft approach. And being able to drop into this voice really helps, especially for example, in storytelling. So I'm just going to come out back into mid-tone just to explain that. For example, in storytelling, storytelling is all about evoking emotions. And if you want to be able to speak for business, i.e. if you want to be able to monetize your message and have higher conversions at the end of your talks, people buy for 2 reasons, emotion and logic. So you want to have the fact and the information, the knowledge there, but you also want to be able to evoke emotions in the people listening to you. And tonality is a very good way of doing that. So for example, with the low tone, if you were sharing a story about perhaps a particularly painful time in your past. So for example, when I share my story about a very challenging period that I went through when I was younger, and we're going to talk about positioning in the positioning video, but notice how I move. I drop down into a lower tone and I start to move backwards. My shoulders start to sink because body Language accounts for communication. My tone drops. And I speak about the way that I was bullied, victimized when I was younger. And how, as a very young teenager, I tried to commit suicide. Now, I'm not sharing this with you on this video for empathy or for anybody to feel sorry for me. And I don't share that story from stage to get people to feel sorry for me. There's a reason why we share our stories. So just very, very quickly. There's a reason why we share our stories. And I'm going to tell you more about that in the video that is all about storytelling and why it is so important to get good at sharing your story. But if I was to share exactly what I just did, standing here in this voice, so when I was younger, I was bullied, abused, victimized, and actually as a teenager, I went to commit suicide. But then I found some mentors and I went through this training process and I allowed myself to master my mind again. So here I am today, whoop-de-doo. Can you see that that's exactly the same story, exactly the same sentences? But depending on which tone that I use, evokes a completely different feeling in the room and emotion from the audience. And to be able to really engage with your audience, you want to be able to tap in to their emotions. And most people will be able to resonate, relate, connect in some way to nearly every story that you tell. So it's all about how you tell it in order for them to truly connect through that emotion. So that is all about your low voice. Low tone can also be used to bring focus back. And some of you can already tell that I'm also changing the pace when I'm speaking. And I'll go into that after this. But a low tone can also be used to bring the attention back. If I drop and I speak very quietly, the audience start to think, what's happened? Where's she gone? And they will naturally start listening again, because that is one of our biggest roles as a speaker, is to keep the audience engaged right the way through. And especially if you're looking to monetize your message and turn this into a profitable business, the more engaged your audience is right the way through, the more sales that you are likely to make. So that's another way that you can use the low tone, is to bring back the attention. Low tone can also be very good, especially if you put a smile on your face, for creating anticipation, for bringing people into a state of suspense and wondering what's going to happen next. So that is more about your low. So we've got your low tone and your mid conversational tone. So what do you think is next? So that is a little bit more about your mid and your low tone. So what do we think is next? Your power tone. Power tone. Now, power is the easiest one for the majority of people to slip into. Like I said at the beginning of this video, when most people go to share the stage or speak from stage, deliver some sort of presentation, they go into professional delivery mode and they can spend the entire time speaking with this power voice, and it can become very intense. So the power voice is by the very nature of the word, very powerful, but it is to be used in exactly those moments. So if you have a message that you really want to land, perhaps if you're an inspirational speaker or you're sharing different tools and strategies on how people can improve their life, but you also want to deliver a moment where they truly believe in themselves and know that you are more than enough. So there was a very little example thrown in there. But when you want a message to land, when you have a powerful statement, that is your time to step in to your power voice. Now, of course, by the very nature of volume, your power voice is also a very good way to bring back the engagement. So if you've been speaking in your mid-tone and you've been delivering a certain piece of information, perhaps it's one of the tips or one of the bullet points or something from your model that you're going to be sharing, and you've been in mid for quite a while, you can build it up into that power voice to be able to bring the attention back in the room for what you would like to say next. So your power voice can be used to bring back the attention. Now, I just want to make a very important point when it comes to these three tonalities. So we have low, we have mid, and we have power. It is not about dropping into your low voice and speaking in your low voice and then going into power. Let's have transition. So we transition between the points. So if I'm speaking at mid and I want to go down into low, I just very steadily and very carefully drop my voice a little bit more and a little bit more with each sentence. And in exactly the same way, if I want to come back and step into more of a mid conversational tone, and then I want to be able to build back and emphasize a point and build that excitement, build that suspense in the room, bring back the attention and have all eyes on me for the final point of today. And I transition back into my power voice. So as I say, it's not about just leaping in between them. It's about having smooth transitions. And in a moment when I shared with you just about pace very quickly, it's quite self-explanatory, then I'm gonna give you a really cool exercise that can help with this.